Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how does he know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more.
Hi, everyone. Jennifer's taking the day off today. We're pre-recording for Sunday the 18th, and today is episode number 54, Human Design Advantage podcast. And today we're doing a review with Kristina Westcott. So Miss Jennifer won't be with us today, and this ought to be good. It'll be a short episode, and we'll be back regular full-time airing live the following Sunday. Anyways, let's bring it on. Yeah, I get to ask Jennifer later, how did I do? It's always my favorite. She always introduces the show, Kristina. So everyone, this is Kristina, and we did for part 1 of 2, because it's usually part 2, just a few days ago. And so today we're just going to get a little bit of feedback, and I think we should end up doing more of these. And Kristina, if you got friends that want to be read, please, send them in, and we can get more of this stuff done. But generally speaking, I just like to ask people just right off the bat. A couple days have gone by. We went over this "Hi, I'm a generator" thing, and some of this stuff is brand spanking new when you first hear it the very first time. And so, what was your impression while you were listening to some of this? Well, while we were going through what we were going through.
Yeah, the generator thing really stuck out to me a lot, because I, you said on the I don't want to call it a reading, but when we spoke, you talked about the generator thing, and it really just clicked with me and made sense. Like, I'm always on, I'm always circling that energy, and it never really quite stops. Like, I don't have a bedtime. I don't do that stuff. It's called when the candle burns out. That's when I stop going. So that was just so really hit for me on the whole generator thing, and why it is that I do that, because I'm constantly cooking in some way.
Right. We're always cooking. We're always in the kitchen cooking up something. And so I always find that it's the simple things that become the most profound. That's what I like about reading for someone the very first time. It brings us back to, I always end up mentioning the little kid version of ourselves. And I point out how the kid is always right. The kid is always right. So this energy that's always on in the past couple of days, have you noticed that there's moments of just sheer, like, in the moment response, and then there's moments of I'm clouding it with what I'm thinking? Have you seen any of that?
Yes, totally. I find that now that I'm aware of the generator piece, I'm noticing things that I do, like, I have a 5-year-old, and I'm playing with her outside, and in 1 minute I'm playing with her, and then the next minute my attention's somewhere else, and then it's somewhere else, and then it's like it's sometimes it's just with all the distractions, I'm like, oh my God, and I had it clicked with me. I'm like, oh, this is me being a generator, because I just constantly, with that new stimuli, I just go with that, and then I go with that, and then I go with that. And then when I was aware of it, it helped me to stay centered and focused a little bit more, because I just was understanding why I'm like that. So, it was really interesting.
And one of the big things I find is a big relief. I remember when Ra Uru Hu, the person who brought human design into the world, his first title for the book, and he chose to change it. The book that he wrote, the one book that he did the writing for, it's the manual. We call it the big book. It's called The Science of Human Design, The Science of Differentiation. But he was going to call it at first sort of something like a guide for no fault living. And just there's no one's fault. It's not your fault that you do that, is the point. And so to sort of let everyone off the hook. So when you noticed that, was it easier for you? Did you suddenly let yourself off the hook a little bit? It's like, oh, I'm not a ding dong. I'm me.
Yeah, no. I struggle to pay attention and stay on one task all the time. But then for instance, okay, so this morning, and knowing that, I went to do the dishes and I said, you know what, I'm going to pop my earphones in so that I can really just zone in on what I'm doing. And that really helped me from getting distracted from other things.
Right.
But if I didn't have that prior knowledge of kind of like the whole generator thing, I wouldn't have thought to do that as much. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to try to focus on, and I did a great job with it and I focused better because I could kind of block out that external stimuli and just indicating that I was a generator. It was helpful. It was just helpful to make that small change.
So it starts out with the simple things. And then I remember we went through the definition in your chart. And I remember I kept keynoting you as it relates to, and actually, do you mind if we pull up your chart for a moment?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's pull up your chart and it'll shrink us over to the side. So just here's your chart. If I go with the simple view, there's another view, and I can send it to you for the next time we finish this, that has a little more information. Actually, that's funny. I'm telling you, this is the simple view, and you're like, there's more. Anyway, so when I was going through this definition, like when I was explaining to you this channel of being driven down in the lower left-hand corner, which is 54 up to 32, this channel of transformation, always transforming it's basically transforming a position into a stronger position is what it's trying to do. And it smells out the success or the failure of a situation. It sort of smells it. But I was pointing out this need of yours to sort of drive yourself into something more, to transform, and how it's supportive. And you're always finding yourself being supportive when sometimes you don't always want to, but you are anyways. Did you get anything from that? What did you notice, if anything, when I was reading off your definition? I was going through these things, these life forces that stay permanent. They stay with you.
Yes. I resonated immediately with it being true because I do. I'm always focused on the bigger picture. So if I feel like it serves the greater good, it's like something I automatically want to do. But then it's not until I'm in the middle of doing it where I'm just like, damn, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this right now. Why did I do this? And I guess the answer to that is because it serves a greater purpose. And when I made the decision to do it, that's what I believe, what I signed on for, the reason why I signed on to do it. But then like sometimes in the middle of it, I'm just like, but I don't want to do it. So that was very interesting.
I remember a moment during our reading when I read this second channel off to you, the one that goes from 34 up to 10. We called it the channel, it's centering, the channel of self-exploration, from the red sacral up to the yellow G center there, the liver, from the sacral to the liver point. And how you love to just sort of look in. You're always looking inward. I am looking inward on me. And what a healthy thing to do. I mean, as children, that's the job description. Hey, kid, look in on yourself, right? That's what we ask our children to do a lot. And I remember a moment in time when I pointed out how sometimes these things are at odds with each other. Just like you just said, you get into it, it's like, I don't want to anymore. But in the beginning, it's like, no, I'm supportive, I'm driven. There's a bigger picture. It's gonna help me rise up this ladder. It's gonna help everyone move in a better, more tribally oriented. It's called continuity, is what that tribal definition is looking for. And the centering is all very individual. It just wants to discover itself. And so sometimes these things are at odds with each other. And so you notice that. So what ends up happening is I end up being able to tell people it's okay to start and then realize down the road, it's like, I don't really want to be here. But we're trained to feel bad about that. Society trains us to feel bad. Oh no, you started, you got to finish what you started. If you're a generator, if that's not what you end up wanting to do, at some point in time, it's totally okay to stop. I've been pointing out to people over and over again, we generators have been called the great quitters because we don't always want to finish the thing that we necessarily started. And I've been, every time we get to that point in a call, it is a reading, it's more like class, had you had mentioned it, that I get to pointing out to people, it's like, just retool those words. You didn't quit, you stopped. Because generators, if you look at yourself correctly, you're a responding, you're a responding being. And so in the moment you start realizing my energy is going away for this thing. And again, if the kid is always right, when you were 4 years old, you didn't keep on doing the thing you didn't want to do. You stopped. And then our parents and society and the world taught us that that's quitting. But when we were 4, we didn't know the word quitting. We understood stopping, but there's no such thing as, it wasn't quitting. We had to be taught that. So have you noticed points in your life where these two things are like at odds with each other? I mean, you just sort of
Oh yeah. Yeah,
No.
Definitely.
Did you get a chance to, did you get a chance to listen to any of the recording?
Yeah, I re-listened to it and just kind of went through it and really just kind of resonated with certain points that that really, clicked with me. And that's certainly one of them. The whole starting something and then wanting to stop, and then, it's the guilt of oh no, I'm
Right.
quitting or I'm not getting the job done. But I mean, it also seems like nothing I ever start really is in vain, because it always branches to something new, even if it's not what I originally thought. So I feel like that generator piece helps with a creative side
It
of me
does.
and like the creative process for sure. Because it's never what, you really start off thinking it's going to be, and then it becomes something bigger, greater as you go along. So, I find that to be a strength. But yeah, I totally see what you're saying. Yes, the whole don't quit mentality and how that comes into
Right.
play.
So to sharpen that up a little bit more, because you and I are both generators, we have this truth inside of us that's always ready to respond, right? And we went through that. So now, and I'm always trying to locally, I mean, we're here in Western Mass, everyone. So actually, Kristina and I are local to each other. Normally I'm speaking to people all over the country. But we could start a little group. I'm even doing a workshop, I think, on this Sunday, where I'm teaching generators to ask questions of other generators, and I'm calling it a response session. There's going to be, if it's still on, I have to wait and get a text, and if it's still on, I'll throw you an invite. It's on Sunday. It's sort of quick, short notice, but what I'll be doing is teaching generators to just how they have that response and how they have the mental pressure a moment afterwards, just like I did with you on the phone call. So now, instead of entering into things in the future, you can always just call, and we can train another generator in your life to ask questions. I bet you Alicia would love to do that. And the trick is they can't have an agenda to it. I can't ask you questions like, if I'm your boyfriend, I can't say, well, you love me, right? Well, that's a yes or no question, but it's loaded, right? It's loaded with an expectation. You can't have that. The asker has to be really neutral, just like it doesn't matter, so that you're not interrupted with that energy. But next thing that you're hopping into that you're seeing how it'll do a thing. If we just spend a few minutes asking questions, you'll suddenly see where that powerful yeses are to do the thing, and where maybe some of them aren't. And so you'll start to be able to give yourself a break, or better yet, inform the other as you're entering in. Hey, I love entering into this, but I never know what happens halfway through. And now you're making awake decisions for yourself as it relates to communicating the truth to the other. So, I mean, when was the last time you said, yeah, I'll do that? And then you inform them in the beginning, well, but I might quit halfway through. I might have to stop. I'm not sure how far my energy is going to go. Do you ever inform people of that?
No.
Right. Doesn't it sound like pretty wise? Like, oh my God, that's an informed way of letting somebody know beforehand, so I can stay in my truth and absolve myself of the guilt of stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Did you have any questions after the second listening? Because you always get more upon the second time. That's what I find.
No, I really connected with a lot of it. The thing, and I'm sure you're going to get to this too, but when you were asking those the yes or no questions, and it was my immediate, I think it was sacral response, or active spleen. Is that what we said?
Yep.
And then you would ask me rapid fire yes or no questions, and
Yep.
some of the questions were even really uncomfortable typically to answer, but it didn't really bother me because in that moment I was just so in that automatic response where it was just like yes, no, yes, I don't know, yeah, you know.
Yeah, right.
And it was very, very fast. I think that was the part that I resonated with kind of the most. I really was leaving that conversation, with a deeper understanding, especially after that portion of it.
And I noticed when we were doing that, so there's a whole bell curve, and I noticed you were way on the right side of this bell curve. You struggled only a few times, and you didn't struggle that hard when I asked you to witness it, to see where the struggle was. And you were like, oh, and when you listen back, did you hear all the generator noises you were making? It's like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's this is weird. That's forced out of us. We can't even help it. So yeah, I just thought that was really good. So when people are able to answer easily and then see the thing, I know they're going to have a lot easier time witnessing inside their experiment afterwards. Now, all along the way, I was bringing you to the point that we're going to be in an experiment. And I'm hoping that landed home with you. So you realize that it's a simple experiment, right? Do you feel like giving your idea of what this experiment looks like? I can just say it again if you want.
Yeah, say it again. So say it again.
Yeah, it's the experiment is literally you choosing to knowingly, consciously witness these aspects in you, so that in the seeing of it, you start to integrate what's true for you or not. It's just witnessing. The whole experiment is a very alone experience. It's not lonely, but it is an alone process. No one else can do it. Only you can. And so you just start witnessing. And in the seeing of it realigns everything. That's all you have to do is see the dang thing. Because when you're seeing it, you're in the live moment, right? And so that means you're experiencing it. You're not just seeing, you're actually experiencing it. So seeing, meaning you knew some, experiencing it, bam, it's happening. You put knowledge and experience together, and now you know. That's the experiment. And so that's basically what you took away when I was explaining that?
Yes.
Coolio.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Did any other questions show up for you?
Meaning, did I have any questions after the fact?
Yeah. Like as you were going through the recording, or just afterwards, or moments.
To tell you the truth, not really, but I want to know. So 70% of the population is generators. I believe you said, right? Okay.
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus a few. So how do generators process information a little bit differently than like a non-generator, like in terms of
that's a super common question. In fact, let's just finish this off on full screen. Let's go back to full screen, and we'll just finish this off this way. And so generators do the other three types. They don't have that red sacral box, that second from the bottom. That's really the first, and that's the biggest distinction. And they all, if you're a manifester, you're processing information by what's your impact on things. You realize you're making an impact, and so because manifestors are designed to basically initiate. They're designed to do. If you know a manifestor, if you look up a chart of a manifestor, you'll see that person is always pushing resistance out of their way. You and I are always suffering the resistance unless we're waiting to respond. That's when our power comes out. So as you and I wait to respond, we become the manifestor as a responder. But we have to wait. That's the whole thing. So I always pointed out it's like a dance. Two people are dancing, but one person does lead. But both people dance the same amount of steps and have the same amount of fun and listen to the same song and ended at the same time, began at the same time. So So that's the difference between that and a manifestor. Manifestor always leads. They're always out front initiating, and they have it very difficult. So their decisions are based on where is all my resistance? Where am I getting angry? And, where is my greatest impact, and where do I feel most at peace? You and I are answering these questions on what's my response to that? Where's my energy for all of this? Do I feel satisfied, or am I becoming frustrated up through to angry? Am I frustrated? Is my energy, we're always measuring just our energy. Is our energy at half speed, full speed, 110%? When it's 110, we're back in our little kid version. We are now true to our body's energy requirements, its energy output, what it needs to do. When we're at, 50% or 30%, 1/3 power. Those days, it's like it's time to bake the donuts or whatever. It's time to do the whatever. And it's like, I don't want to do it. At that moment, you realize, no, you really don't. And now you've got crappy energy for it. So we're always measuring the energy. Are we satisfied on one end, or are we just, frustrated? The projector is always measuring, am I being recognized? So we're all measuring different things. We're designed to measure different things, and then we're designed to literally pull that into one another and commune with each other. Let's let our manifestors make all kinds of impacts. We follow in the wake of their impact. Let's let our projectors help guide the way, because they're always recognizing things. Their big thing is to recognize stuff. They recognize when they're being invited. They recognize when they're not being recognized. They recognize when they feel a sense of victory and success about something. That's when they're in their best way. They're always here mastering little systems more and more, and they master this. And if you know a well-adjusted projector, they tinker with a bike. They then learn an instrument. They then, figure out stuff at work. They then make more efficient certain systems. They're always mastering aspects of systems. And we dumb generators, we need that because we're just the brute force workers on the planet, but we're not the slaves. We're the workers, because when we're satisfied, we can move mountains and we can stay at it all day. And so that the other types do that. And reflectors, they're only 1% of the population. Manifestors are 10%, maybe 9%. And let's see, projectors are a good 21 or 2%. So really, generators are probably down to about 68% of the planet, not quite 70. And then when you add all that up as a reflector, they just reflect back what's true. They just reflect back the health of the society around them. And they're always looking at who are they? And they're always they. Whereas the projector is always looking at who are you? And you and I are always looking at who am I? And the manifestor is always not looking at any of that. They're just like, what's my impact here? What's the deal here? What am I impact? What am I making better? What am I getting done? And so you put these four things together, and the reflector reflects back the health of all of that. And if they're super disappointed and they just can't seem to get any energy going, then something's wrong in their environment. Very wrong. Michael Jackson was a reflector. He kept making his face lighter and lighter until he finally died. I would say he reflected back a rather unhealthy situation often. He was a reflector. He reflected back a very unhealthy family a lot of the time. Does that answer your question? Oh, we went silent. I'm not sure can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Dan?
Yeah, can you hear me? Don't sweat it, Kristina. Stuff like this happens.
I can't.
Yeah, I can hear.
I can't hear you.
We'll do sign language. I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you just fine.
I can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what happened.
Well, try to read my lips. That's too funny. I bet you the podcast does hear us both, but we're sort of wrapping up here. I was just going to say that let's conclude this on the next session. We're going to have one more session, and we're going to go over your open centers. And since you can't hear me, we're just going to sort of go off air. And go ahead and say any last things that you want to know.
Can you hear me?
Nope. Oh, wait a second. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me.
Yep. But you can't hear me, right? Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. Well, we're going to go off air. We're done. We got through enough. We have another session to do. Everyone can know that we have part 2, and a good reading takes. Jen, why don't you just go full screen with me? A good reading takes a good 2 times, sometimes 3. And so when you book your appointment, just realize it's not a reading. It's like class. And we start you out with 1, and you need time to integrate it. And then we take that through and bring you to session number 2, where we show you more stuff that we didn't get through on session 1. A good human design reading starts out with really the history and just how the human design is working inside your body graph, so you can have certain mechanical knowledge. And that takes 10 or 15 minutes. And then after that, we go into your chart and what's the scoop with you. And by the time an hour or an hour and a half has gone by or more, you'll see we start to get a little tired. And so we always save part 2 and sometimes part 3 for later. That's needed. And so book your session. And hopefully Kristina will come on again and at some point in the future and tell us how this is moving along forward. She's well on her way to being able to navigate as herself. And that's the important thing. So with that, don't forget to like and subscribe, book your session. The links are down below. Come get yourself read and stay with it. You'll get your life back. And that's what we want. And that of your kids too, and your partner and everyone else you ever knew. So with that, thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice rest of your Sunday.